want candy? Want candy now?
What is going on, everybody? Nazdarachi coming back again because it's time for another episode of Relic Review. We have the second banner for the Led by Fate Final Fantasy XIII event, and it comes with more USBs, OSBs, and Legend Materia relics. As well, they've added one new feature to the game, which is in beta, but it is the Jumpstart battles. Now, for these battles, you're going to start with a full 3 Soul Break gauges across all of your characters, and no abilities or record materials that influence Soul Break gauge will be allowed or effective at all. So no Wraths, Life Siphons, no Dr. Mug's Teachings, Ace Striker, Battle Forge, none of that. None of it will work. So forget about all that. The strategy here is to basically spam out your most powerful BSBs and OSBs, preferably Lightning for this battle. So things like the Thunder God Sid's OSB, Lightning's OSB, as well as her USB, and Kane's OSB, stuff like that will help you sail through this battle really quickly. Now these battles hopefully will start increasing in difficulty as time goes on. The first one is quite easy if you have a lot of powerful soul breaks. So forget really even about healing. If you can bring a last stand, a couple buffs, and then just go to town with the soul breaks, you should be able to beat it in about 30 seconds or less. Again, hopefully in the future we'll be looking at the 300 difficulties and the 30-second time limit dungeons. Those will be a nice little challenge also, so imagine this is kind of a lead into that hopefully goes somewhere fun. Beyond that, you do as well have your Adamantulid Conquest Raid Dungeon. These are going to be fairly challenging, does physical magic damage, as well as he has an attack that does a fixed 99k, so you might want to bring something like Yuna's USB to help compensate for a potential guaranteed kill. Now with that being said, he also has attacks that completely ignore resistance, so wall is not always going to be useful. So plan for a reasonably tough battle, and hopefully you can get through it. Now with that being said, we do have the second Relic banner to cover here. This one is mostly going to favor Fang, Snow, and Vanille, with Legend Materials for both Vanille and Snow. So let's dive right in here. The very first item that's going to be featured on the banner is the Convalescence Brightwing Staff for Vanille. Something that I have for, and I can honestly say that I don't often get a chance to use it. I generally have Vanille spamming Transcendent Dreams. That is a just monumentally useful soul break, and it kind of downplays the usefulness of this USB here. However, it is pretty useful. It does give you the Pro Shell, so Protectka and Shelga across the whole team, and the 1 debuff barrier, so sap, stop, slow, stuff like that. You get protection from one of those on everybody, as well as the 2k damage stock. That is the Convalescence Ultra Soul Break. And as well, it is a really good stat stick for healers, especially in a Final Fantasy XIII synergy situation. So 77 attack, 130 magic, 165 mind, and no bonus effects. We already covered the Soul Break there. Now again, you are shooting with Vanille primarily for Transcendent Dreams. That's where her most powerful healing abilities come into play. The instant heal on it is ridiculously good, and if you have a high mind stat on Vanille, the entry effect will be looking at 5.5 to 6k heals, and the Command 2, which heals the whole team, you can look at anywhere between about 1100 to 2000, just depending on how high your mind stat is. So Vanille is an amazing healer. I would honestly rank her right up there with Y'shtola, probably just a notch below Y'shtola, because Y'shtola also has the wall effect if you don't happen to have that for Tiro. And again, the USB is kind of overshadowed by her BSB being so much better, but it is useful. And your percent chance to draw the Brightwing Staff seems to be about 1.43% here. It would be a dupe for me, so I would not necessarily want to pull another one of these, honestly. Next up, we have the Banescissor Spear. That is the OSB for Fang. 169 attack, no other stats, and unfortunately, synergy only boost to wind damage, small. Honestly, this is another item that I kind of wouldn't mind avoiding, but I do have a couple other soul breaks for Fang, and she is a relatively powerful character. So in terms of Dragoons, you might actually not mind getting this. So your Soaring Spear overstrikes Soul Break here. Massive jump wind, non-elemental damage to one target. Can break the damage cap. There's no modifiers or anything here that can influence the damage output, like stacking Dragoon abilities or anything like that. So unfortunately, it is just an average Soul Break, maybe slightly above so because it is a jump attack from a Dragoon that could potentially get her, I don't know, some boosts from record materia that boost Dragoon abilities. Very average. I would not mind missing out on this altogether if I could maybe secure Vanille's Legend materia or Snow's BSB. And your percent chance to draw this seems to be at 1.13%. Not a bad item, but just not a very powerful OSB. Next up, we have the BSB for Fang, the Heretic's Halberd. It is again a spear, 139 attack, no other stats, no bonus effects. Her armor, Super Soul Break, does give the plus wind damage, so unfortunately neither of her weapons really help out with that. Now the BSB, Raging Whirlwind, 9 physical wind, non-elemental attacks to one target, temporarily infuse the user with the power of wind, and haste burst mode to the user. 9 attacks to one target is pretty reasonable in terms of entry effects. It will stack very nicely with Zack's upcoming Chain Soul Break and on a wind-based team. So we can't completely sleep on Fang here. She is good in the right team composition if you're building for wind, and she will be able to see some use in the future on those types of teams. Now the burst commands here, Seething Winds, 4 physical wind attacks to one target, 5 wind attacks if the target has a slight weakness or is vulnerable to wind. The 5 attacks will be great once you have her on a wind team and you have used Zack's Burst Soul Break, for example, to imperil wind. You get these 5 attacks. That's a pretty reasonable amount of DPS. So she is, again, with this Burst Soul Break, not a bad wind character to fit into a team with Zack, Cloud, or Alphino. A bunch of other wind-based characters would see some good use with Fang on the team as well. Then Biting Winds. 2 physical wind, non-elemental attacks to all targets, temporarily lower the user's defense a moderate amount, and raise the user's attack a moderate amount. So she does get a bargain command for the second command here. That does make this even more valuable. We love burst soul breaks that have bargain commands on them. I love that effect personally because it's just yet another stackable buff that makes them more powerful. So again, Fang, ideally you'll be using her BSB, and occasionally you might throw her OSB in as a finishing move, but really her true value comes in with this BSB right here. And it seems like you have about a 1.31% chance to draw this, so good luck if you're going for Fang. I do hope you get her BSB here. Next up, we have an item that I actually would not mind pulling on this banner. It's a very good BSB for Snow here. Light armor, so 17 attack, 112 defense resistance. Pretty standard in terms of light armors we've seen. It does have the bonus effect, small boost to ice damage, so that is really good. And your burst soul break is the Here We Go. 8 physical ice non-elemental attacks to one target. Last stand to all allies. Haste burst mode to the user. Damage dealt increases if none of your allies are KO'd. 8 to one target is pretty good for entry effect. The last stand to all allies is pretty unique to an offensive BSB as well. It's kind of the monk qualities shining through here. It's in lieu of having an imperil or an element ice, you get this last stand for the whole team as well, making this a very interesting and very tactically useful move right here. So if you could throw this on the team, use this in your jumpstart dungeon, you wouldn't need to really bring a healer at all. Really, something like this or Edge is ideal for those jumpstart dungeons. And like I said, you can just go ham. You have the last stand to rely on. You have all 3 gauges of soul break filled, so you can just keep recasting last stand. And ideally, you will pummel the boss to death before he can really do much of anything about it. So very good BSB here, makes Snow quite a valuable character. Your burst abilities here, both monk type. Icy Revenge, 4 physical ice and non-elemental attacks to one target. Damage dealt increases when the user's HP is lower. And Frost Charge, 3 physical ice non-elemental attacks to one target. And raise the user's attack a moderate amount and defense a small amount. So first the bad, then the good. Unfortunately, the modifier on the burst command 1 is the user's remaining health is lower, gives a higher modifier. It's a very risky modifier in this game. It's not the first time we've seen something like this, and I personally tend to shy away from this because I like to keep my characters at full health as often as I can, so I don't generally see maximum usability out of a modifier like this. And the good news here is the second command is even better than a bargain. There actually is no bargain, it's just a give me. He's getting a boost to 2 different stats, he doesn't have to make any sacrifices, so again, really good monk qualities showing through on this second burst command here. Better than any other bargain ability really in the game because he doesn't lose anything. All in all, I think this is a very good BSB. I honestly would love to have it. It would fit in quite nicely on any ice themed team, and it seems like you have about a 0.65% chance to pull this so far. So quite low, even lower than the OSBs and the USB. That's kind of sad. That would be something I really wouldn't mind drawing. Next up here we have another one of the top contenders for most useful BSB in the game. We do have the Milestine, very, very popular. Most everyone should be familiar with it if you're not a new player, and it is very highly used on the Roaming Warrior list as well. When I've had this on my Roaming Warrior list, I've seen upwards of 45 to 55 uses in one day before, especially when more challenging events are out. So very time-tested, tried and true healing burst soul break here. Again, contender for one of the best in the game. 55 attack, 100 magic, 130 mind, no bonus effects, and your burst soul break is the Transcendent Dream. Instantly restore a large amount of HP to all allies, temporarily raise the user's mind a moderate amount, and haste burst mode to the user. The instant effect being the most significant factor on this one. Combining that with a large heal and a mind buff just makes Vanille an amazingly versatile healer. When you get attacked by an enemy, for example, who does a global reduce your whole team to 1 HP, this burst soul break swoops right in and it acts like it never happened before the enemy can even respond because you have that instant effect. So again, this is my favorite white magic BSB in the entire game. I absolutely love it, and it's saved my ass countless times. When you pair it up with something like Yuna's USB that gives haste, last stand, and raises them from the dead, your team becomes nigh unkillable. It's almost impossible to lose the game, and even when you get in a really crap situation, you bring people back to life with Yuna, then instantly heal them. So I personally would highly recommend drawing for this item if you don't already have it. It would be a dupe for me, so I personally would not want another one, and this banner actually is kind of weak for me for that reason. I have quite a few dupes. But your burst ability is Light Eternal, 2 white magic holy attacks to 1 target and temporarily lower its resistance a moderate amount. This will stack with her legendary materia Relic. It gives Vanille some versatility in situations where you don't need heals, but she's on the team. It gives her the ability to output a little bit of damage here, and lowering its resistance a moderate amount fits in quite nicely on any mage theme party. And Breath of Vitality, pretty standard BSB2 command for any white magic burst soul break. Restore a small amount of HP to all allies. Again, if you have a really high mind stat on Vanille, this is actually super functional. Seems like you have about a 0.65% chance to draw this burst soul break as well. Very similar to Snow's BSB, very low percent drop rate. That is sad news. Moving forward, we do have the Legend Materia for Snow here. Another light armor, 17 attack, 115, 115, and you get a minor ice resistance as well. So, again, potentially useful in the right situation, but not a really outstanding bonus effect. Your legendary materia is the Enduring Resolve. Increase the user's attack a moderate amount proportional to the number of attacks the user has taken. This is really good for Snow because you can set him up with Draw Fire. He is known for being quite a good tank, and as well, the Burst Soul Break having Last Stand kind of negates a little bit of the risk of him potentially dying. So you should get some pretty good use out of this if you set him up with a Draw Fire and potentially Draw Fire Retaliate combo. Excellent Legend Materia specifically for Snow. Obviously, it can only be used by him, and on a lot of other characters this would not be useful. But given the character that it is on here, I actually think that this one is pretty good here. And you do have about a 1.25% chance to pull this one. So pretty much double percent chance to draw this compared to his BSB here. Next up we have Vanille's Legend Materia Relic, the Gentle Atonement, another rod. So you have 55 attack, 100 magic, 138 mind. No bonus effects for her, unfortunately. Like Snow gets 1, Vanille sadly, no love for her on the bonus effects. And Legend Materia Gentle Atonement, small chance when using white magic abilities to deal a single target white magic holy attack, which temporarily lowers the target's defense and resistance a small amount. This is a unique debuff, so it is highly stackable. It actually is quite useful if you happen to pull this, but it's not something that's going to make or break her as a character. Honestly, her legendary materia that you can record dive her for double casting white is going to be much more preferred, honestly, to me than this one. It is kind of similar with her Burst Command 1 debuff, except for 2 stats instead of just resistance, and it will stack with that also. Pretty reasonably good legend materia here, but honestly, not a reason for me to want to make any type of significant draw on this banner. Again, because I have so many dupes for her, that really kind of negates the usefulness of pulling on this banner for me. It is skippable, especially with some of the stuff we have up and coming. I personally am not going to make any heavy investments in this banner, especially because I did go a little bit heavy on banner 1, which you will see towards the end of this video. Your percent chance to draw Vanille's Legend Materia here is about 0.89%, so still seems to be about less than 1%. Honestly, I would probably prefer Snow's Legend Materia myself, but I already have Vanille level 99, so that one would be more useful for me. We got a Super Soul Break for Sazh next, the Choco Chick. This is a returning item here. It is a gun, 116 attack, and no bonus effects, but it is ranged weapon, obviously being a gun. The Choco Chick Super Soul Break, temporarily raise the attack of all allies a large amount and enable them to avoid 1 magic attack. Similar to Shout from Ramza, but you trade the Hastega for a magic blink, which honestly could be useful in certain situations, but you do really want to find that Hastega effect from somewhere else. Not an amazing Super Soul Break here, but he is a good support character for Final Fantasy XIII. Long term, Sazh is not really one of the super standout characters here. And it seems like you have about a 1.43% chance to pull this SSB here, something I myself would actually not mind avoiding. Next up, we have the Death Blow for Noel here, right? Yep, Noel. This is another dupe for me, something I already have, and honestly, his SSB is nowhere near as useful as his BSB, but you do have a sword, 133 attack, and no bonus effects. Super Soul Break Death Blow, 6 instant physical attacks to 1 target, high chance to interrupt the pending actions, and remove the delay from the user's actions for 2 turns. This is a great setup Super Soul Break. The delay reduction is quite useful. Interrupts are handy when they're handy, but again, lots of high-level bosses are going to resist that effect. And the instant attacks are actually pretty good too. So this is overall actually a reasonably good Super Soul Break if you're building Noel, but you probably won't want to use Noel unless you have the BSB as well. This Super Soul Break will lead into that one super nicely if you happen to want to cast it first. Honestly, I already have this item and I still have not yet even begun to put any resources into Noel. And it seems like you have about a 2.14% chance to pull that sword for him there. Next up, we have a Super Soul Break for Fang, another spear. 128 attack, no bonus effects. Your Super Soul Break High Wind deals 6 fire and wind jump attacks to 1 target and temporarily lower its attack and magic a large amount. Pretty good break on Fang. Honestly, this Super Soul Break is good for mastery points as well, but if you have the BSB and the OSB, you'll probably be rotating that combo instead. For the breaking effect, you might find time to cast this Soul Break, but honestly, I would just like it for the mastery points. It is a fairly stackable break though, so again, fairly useful Super Soul Break, but Fang's value really again is in her BSB and OSB finisher. And for the High Wind Punisher here, it seems like you do have about a 2.20% chance to pull it there. Another one that I would not mind skipping. I kind of would really be shooting for mostly relics for snow on this banner, me personally. But next up for snow, we have the battle standard fist weapon, 131 attack, 20 defense, and no bonus effects. Super Soul Break Entrench, 4 physical attacks to 1 target, temporarily raise the particle's critical hit chance a moderate amount, and temporarily counter physical attacks. So this sets him up with Retaliate here. As well, it has that amazingly useful critical hit chance buff that's going to stack amazingly well with Zach's incoming Chain Soul Break for the critical hit damage and chance double buff there. And the 4 physical attacks, definitely not the highlight. The buffs and the counter are really what you're going for on this one. This Super Soul Break does fit Snow's motif really well here and allows him to make good use of that Draw Fire Retaliate combo. Honestly, I would love to have all 3 of Snow's relics on this banner, but again, I personally wouldn't recommend investing the resources to get them unless you don't have maybe anything for Vanille either and you really need a very powerful healer. Then maybe I could warrant a few pulls on this banner. For Snow's Super Soul Break here, the battle standard, you're looking at about a 1.07% chance to drop. Relatively low for Super Soul Breaks. That is all the items on the banner. We are just going to hit it with a 100 gem draw again here. I'm not recommending a lot of pulls, especially for me because I have a lot of dupes on this banner. So let's see if we get anything lucky here. And no, just a 3-star. So that's it for me for this banner right here. Now, I did do 2 additional 11 pulls on the first banner in addition to the one I did on the actual banner 1 video. So I am going to include them on the tail end of this video starting about right now. So I was going for either Sid Rains or Lightning. I wanted a BSB and USB or OSB combo and as well some legendary materia for either one of them. In this pull I was kind of crazy excited and upset at the same time. With 3 6-stars, it meant I still didn't have a BSB for either Rains or Lightning, making both of them not functionally useful at all.
No Metamorphosis
and
clause still.
I was still really happy, but at the same time, holy crap, man, getting 3 6-stars in a 111 pull is pretty rare. And I got Lightning's USB. It's a great sword to have. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make good use of it on her for a little bit. But I did get Rain's OSB as well. So I was super stoked to come out with a 3 out of 11 with all 3 being 6 stars. Pretty insane, actually, if you consider the odds of pulling something like that. This was going to be my last pull on this banner either way, no matter what I got. Unfortunately, my gift card must be saved, the second half of it, for more important stuff in the future. I got another 3 out of 11, and I was actually pretty excited because I had already gotten the OSB and USB combo at this point, so I did not want any more disco balls. So unfortunately, I got that Meteor Blaze dupe. I skipped through it pretty quick, and I did come up with the Metamorphosis clause.
Thank God.
I was so relieved when I saw those. Unfortunately, Lightning, no love for her, and no BSB. And again, no legend materials, unfortunately, but I was super stoked with this, and that concluded my final draw on that banner there. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Relic Review. As always, comment what you pulled and what you want to pull down below. I'd love to hear it. I hope you get really good luck and can make less draws than I did to get some of the stuff you wanted. Like the video if you enjoy the content, and as well, sub to the channel if you haven't already. Join the family. I like doing these videos at least twice a week and then a stream as well to show off some of the gameplay stuff. So hopefully you will join me, and the Discord link will be down in the description as well, so feel free to join up there also if you are a user of Discord. Again, until next time, this is Nazdarachi. I wish you great luck, and I will be catching you soon for some live streaming action here. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you later. Peace out, y'all.